As young people, we all know and always hear that we're the largest population in the world, and in Nigeria, the population of people between 18 to 35 is about 65% of the population. But when you now even add some of us who have graduated from being youths to adding it up to 45, you now have a whole lot more younger people. Why are we here? Kidnapping is a big issue. For those of us in Abuja, it's gone just beyond kidnapping to what we now even know as one chance, where people are abducted, robbed, sometimes sexually assaulted, and then it's even getting worse that this kidnapping and abduction is now leading into organ harvesting. And so we've seen crime and insecurity evolve over time. We went from Boko Haram in the Northeast from 2008 to the military and their effort pushing them out of the forest and the Northeast. But what has happened is that crime, like energy, is transferred. And so because they've been thrown out of there, that's all they know. Most of them have moved into the cities, and you now have kidnapping in every state in Nigeria. In the last 5 years, at least 5,000 people have been kidnapped. And so this is a big problem. Like I said, my name is Andrew Akomadaki, or Andy Badaki. I'm the CEO of Cyber Technologies. We are the conveners of this Security Dialogue Stakeholder Session. Also, I'm adjunct professor of cybersecurity and intelligence engineering at the Ontario College of Management and Technology. So a lot of my work is around security and cybersecurity. Now, the reason why we're having this session is in February 2020, the United Kingdom and Nigeria got into a partnership called the Security and Defense Partnership, where they came together to sign an agreement on how to improve the security situation in Nigeria. What can they do together to make things work? And so over the last 1 year, we've had several capacity building programs, amongst other ways of support where the British government is supporting the Nigerian law enforcement agencies. The Cyber Technologies, we are contracted by the National Crime Agency and supported to create and implement a communication strategy for their anti-kidnapping efforts. And one of the things which we said was that as opposed to in the past where they come up with some beautiful guideline and book and say this is what we are going to do in Nigeria, in this case they met up with us and asked what should we do. And I think before you even try to enlighten people, you need to get stakeholders around the table to hear how it's affecting them, what the problems are, before you know how to fix it. Now, this is very important because I've worked on a project in 2016 where it was called Rebuild Borno, and we're talking about rebuilding Borno, getting people back active. And we had a beautiful event here in Abuja, and everyone said, oh, unemployment is a problem, and education, give them jobs and educate them, and insecurity will stop. But that was Abuja. We then went to Borno State and visited about 10 IDP camps to find out what was actually going on there. And being there, we realized that the people just wanted water to drink. Not just water to drink, they needed us to give them our empty plastic bottles so that whenever running water is running, they can store the water. And so we're here in our position of privilege thinking, oh, educate them, give them jobs and they will be sorted out. And so since then, I've made it an effort that before you implement anything, hear from the people themselves. Over the last couple of months, we've had trainings and sessions with law enforcement agencies to help them collaborate with themselves. It is embarrassing when you see the DSS and the police fighting in court. It is embarrassing when you see the military attacking police officers. And so part of what we have done, supported by the National Crime Agency in the UK, is capacity building sessions to enable collaboration and coordination amongst law enforcement agencies. One of the other sessions we had was with the media, getting media to work with law enforcement, because as young people, sometimes the people in government see you as the enemies. For those of you in media, sometimes the government sees you people as the enemies. And one of us talk, oh, it's the media, oh, it's social media. And so one of the things we are doing is to bridge that gap where it's not a them versus us. How can we come together? Because it's affecting all of us.
I would say that because of the work we do with young people, I have seen firsthand, I've experienced firsthand the effects of kidnapping in Nigeria. In the course of our projects across the states, we work with young people so that they can better the opportunities to take care of themselves and take the lead in their communities. And one of the challenges I faced last year is the fact that young people who were able to do certain things for themselves can no longer do it anymore. And that is because of insecurity. We've carried out different levels of training for young people across the country on how to get involved in profitable agriculture. Unfortunately, the people who have the skills to indulge in profitable agriculture, some of them provided with equipment to start profitable farming, they can no longer go back to those farms because the farms have become the den of kidnappers. And how does that translate to the effect in society? It means that the number of people who go into the farm to farm for yam, plantain, and all that has reduced. People do not dare to go further. Rather, they try to do farming close to their house in a smaller scale. So how does that affect everybody? It means that fewer number of yams in society, then the cost of those yams increases. So insecurity directly affects everyone, not just because of the young people or the older people who cannot go to the farm anymore, but because you that is used to buying a certain level of food at a certain amount of money can no longer afford it because the people who are farming can no longer go to farm and the product are fewer because of demand and supply. Let's look at transportation. Some years back, we'll fill up our cars in Abuja and drive home for Christmas. I've ended my program for the year, but I cannot drive home for Christmas. I flew from Lagos to Abuja today for this program. If security is not as it is today, I would have driven to Lagos and driven back. How much is cost the flight today? Back and forth is almost 300,000. This is how insecurity affects every one of us. Just yesterday, I got a report of people kidnapped in Abuja Kogi Road. These are family members who are going for one function or the other, or going to see their family for the Christmas. And these are real issues. But how do we address this problem? From my little understanding, I feel that when crime continues unabated, it gives leverage for those involved in that crime to continue. So it sustains itself. Imagine when Chibok girls were kidnapped. Imagine if our military deployed all their arsenal to recover all the girls alive. And the culprits, those who kidnapped them, were either killed or jailed. It will send a very strong signal to those who probably want to kidnap other persons to work, to know that there's no safe haven for anyone. Imagine if those kidnappers, those who kidnapped the people in the train from Abuja to Kaduna, imagine if they were all apprehended. Those guys who kidnapped yesterday in Kogi Road will know that even if we kidnap these guys, they will come for us. So what does that mean? Unless people face the penalty for their actions, unless they face persecution, it may never stop, or it may never end the way we want it to end. So while we have this dialogue today, we should have at the back of our mind that despite the fact that it's a responsibility of the state, the government, to protect citizens, it is also our responsibility, our civic responsibility as young people, to provide intelligent information to the security operative as well. There are instances where kidnapping is happening in our city. Someone happened in Wuse earlier this year. People saw a woman and her kid being dragged. The woman being dragged from the front seat, which was the back seat, by two people. Somebody is trying to take over the driving, to kidnap them. Yes, people were trying to video, but at the moment you were trying to video to document it, you can use that amount of time to try to reach out and security operative as well. This is what's going on here. And in security, 1 minute information matters a lot. Because within 5 minutes, the vehicle that drove off at 100 kilometers per hour, in 5 minutes, that vehicle could be heading towards Kaduna Road.
Peace and security is a very crucial issue. And when we're talking about peace and security, the issue of kidnapping comes to play. In Nigeria, between June 2022 till July 2023, we've had over 3,620 people recorded kidnapped. A report by SBM Intelligence stated, this is very, very alarming. This calls for concern by every reasonable person in this country. And the reason it calls for concern is because, sometimes when this thing happens, it has become so normal that we don't even, think it's a serious issue anymore. One of the major challenges we face with rising insecurity in Nigeria is the fact that we don't have a lot of people advocating against these issues consistently. We don't have a lot of people talking about these issues consistently. We let a lot of things slide under the carpet so easily. How many of you here has had somebody close to you kidnapped? Is there anybody here? There's somebody you know? Okay. One of our members of the Yali Network, Abuja, was kidnapped. You may call it one chance, but it is actually kidnapping, because when you take somebody against their will, that is what kidnapping is. When you force somebody in a vehicle, driving them to an unknown place that they didn't bargain for, that means you have actually kidnapped that person. And in that process, it led to a death. This was somebody that was close to me, as was close to everyone member of the Yali Abuja Network. Her name was Greatness. I'm sure so many of us heard that story. How many of you heard that story, please? Did you hear that story? Yes. And today, that issue, of course, will be swept under the carpet like every other kidnapping issue. Some weeks ago, I was looking at the news and I saw the Peace Mass Transit. The bus stopped somewhere along the road. Of course, kidnappers kidnapped everybody in the bus and took them into the bush. And of course, this is not the first time it's happened. It has happened again and again and again. And the question is, what has been done by the Nigerian security agencies? What is being done by the Nigerian security agencies? It is time that we sit up as Nigerians and begin to ask fundamental questions. It is time we begin to ask serious questions in this country. And this is where we come in as civil society actors, as citizens of the country. It is time we say enough is enough to these issues. It's time we demand accountability. And it's also time that I think several of us in different organizations can come together to set up an incidents monitoring and tracking record. Because I think if we don't keep accurate record, now just imagine the number that was mentioned, 3,620 within a year. Now this is numbers that were reported. Think about those numbers that has not even been reported. These are people's families members. These are our relatives. Sometimes we don't even know. So sometimes we shouldn't wait until it happens to somebody close to us before we begin to talk about these issues. So it's time that every one of us begin to adopt the various, like the topic of the theme for this convention today talks about community-based solutions to addressing kidnapping. It's time we begin to implement some of these things. How can we, within our various community, take effect on kidnapping? Number one, for me, I would suggest that it is time we go back to things like serious community policing. This is so important. Community policing in our day and time is very, very critical. It's no longer something that should be debated. It is something that should be implemented now, because it's becoming more obvious that those who have entrusted our lives to are actually not doing something. And then also, as citizens, we have a role to play. We have a role to play. When issues like this happen, when you hear about these issues, just don't say, oh, it's not somebody I know, and then you keep quiet about it. Amplify it. Amplify it. If you amplify it, you'll be amazed how many people could add their voices to that issues. And if we have enough voices talking about these issues, then before long enough, we will have the security agencies listening to the demands that we are asking of. Also, between 2014 to date, over 1,680 children has been kidnapped in schools. Can you imagine that? Over 1,680 children. Where are they today? Nobody knows. Imagine that this was your child, or imagine that these were your children.
Causes of kidnapping in Nigeria, there are so many. One of them is environmental issues. And these environmental issues is all of us seated here. One is insecurity, like you said. If you look at it, some criminals, when they hold you, they will use POS to withdraw money from you. But there is nobody that is tracing them. Because there is proof. If you use POS, there should be a tracker where they can track you and reach you and say this is where they are. Some, they use transfers. What our government agency, law enforcement agencies, what are they doing about it? Some of them, they even call you on phone. You know, when you make calls, all networks record all calls and they can track you to wherever you are. But they will call you and nothing is being done about it. So I feel our law enforcement agencies in Nigeria, they should work on themselves. At least we need to tackle the issue of corruption among them. Because in terms of information, when something happens and you call them, at the end they will come to your house and pick you again. I'm sorry, but that is what is happening in Nigeria. So until we tackle corruption in Nigeria, information will pass readily the way we want it to be. Otherwise, some people withheld their information because of insecurity again. And another point is, still on environmental issue, is parenting. Parents upbringing. You know, if you go to our streets in Abuja today or in entire Nigeria, you see a lot of young children or grown-up men on the street. Many of them, when they were young, they did not have any basic education at all, nor any skill that they can go into, any professional skill that they can go into. Now they become adults. What the future holds them? Nothing. They have nothing to do than to go into crime, doing one thing or the other, leading to kidnapping or more crime. Until we do something as a community, we seated here collectively have a role to play. When you see such people, what do you do about them? Is it by giving them one area only? As a community, you can do something. As leaders of this great country, we need to do something about it. And the environment is enabling for these crimes to go on because there is injustice. Talking about people that attack so many people, kill so many people, when they come back, they say have repented, and then the country hold them back. Pay them allowances. For what reason? We are promoting the same crime that we are talking about. So until our government do something, give us an enabling environment for even businesses. If you look at we young men in the country now, many people are shutting down their businesses. Why? There is a high cost of oppression because our recent government are putting measures that we cannot do anything. Many of these people do not have a good sense per se So they go into crime because of quick money. There is no enabling environment for them to do businesses. So what can they do to get money? I will link you to job unemployment. Because now if I am working per se and I lost my job, my friends are doing very well. The job they are doing is not good. Actually, they are doing Yahoo, they are doing fraud, they are doing the kidnapping thing and everything. I know that is what they are doing. But because I am not in job and I am not doing anything, there is no business I can do. Of course, these young people, they will go into kidnapping. So until Nigeria, until all of us do something to create an enabling environment for all of us to thrive, that is when all these things will stop. I also want to add, poverty is the problem. And since like explained the same point, but poverty is the problem. Fortunately and unfortunately, our present government pronounce grants and all of that to people, but the top officials in possession of these things, they don't allow this to get to the masses, increasing the level of poverty. And because some of them, if you promise them 50,000 naira, it's a big money that they haven't gotten for over 5 years, and you promise them, don't you think they will do something about it? They will work to collect that money. That is what poverty does in our country today. So until we do something to eradicate it, those challenges will still be there.
I think a lot of young people are no longer even waiting for government to provide jobs. We just want to be able to do our work in peace. We just want to be able to do our work without multiple taxation, without the bottlenecks, without the pots holding our items and the inflation. Who would believe that we'll get to a time where $1,000 is about ₦1 million and it keeps going higher? Someone once said Nigeria doesn't believe in gravity. And so what goes up doesn't come down. And the truth of the matter is that the more this happens, the unequal distribution of wealth is what we build, and so the poor is getting poorer. The goal is how can we work together, especially as young people, especially as leaders in our own different spaces. All of you invited here were invited because you are a leader in a particular sector or space. And so this conversation today is for us to just have a dialogue on what we are doing and how can we work together and provide our recommendations. We're also supporting work with the Nigerian Police Force and the National Counterterrorism Center. And so your recommendation will be put forward to the Office of the National Security Advisor to aid with ongoing efforts.
So the objective of this initiative for us was to just improve that understanding on how ongoing security challenges threaten both young people and state actors, essentially allowing both sides to hear from each other, trust each other, remove that illusion that young people do not care about their country or we are only concerned with flighty things, and also having young people also understand that there are different dynamics within the security systems. These are how security systems work. These are the different officials that you can contact. These are the people who are closest to you at your local community so that people are aware and people understand. And with the grant, we managed to execute 9 projects across Bauchi, Sokoto, Abuja, Katsina, Kano, and Gombe. And the stakeholders that we had with the Nigerian Police Force, local government leadership, young people in different local communities across these locations, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps as well.
So I had this issue of kidnapping. I was once a victim, but I escaped. I was very lucky. I was shot at that Okene road, that same road. I was coming from Benin. So imagine the travel. I've never traveled since then. I've never traveled, never taken road. If it's not flight, I'm not going. And that's why I'm stopping travel for this Christmas to see my family. But I told them I don't have flight tickets now. When I have that ticket, I'll come and see you guys. It's not, even if the road is safe now, but that trauma, what I saw on the road, is actually something I've been hearing people go, I've studied about it, but me one-on-one facing this thing, it was something else. You know, I was shot at, but luckily the bullet didn't actually reach me. So what I'm trying to say, we really need to look into the issue of kidnapping because it's really growing day in, day out. It's escalating into something else. Now, this is what's going to happen next year. it's going to start moving down, because now, see, people no longer travel. People no longer come out. People are not security conscious. Knowing where they take this. Kidnappers are becoming impatient. They'll start moving towards you now. Like somebody said, they move to somebody's house to actually kidnap them. Most estates where I actually do security survey mapping for, in Abuja, that good side and all that, there have been cases where they go into the estates, kidnap occupants living in their own houses, where they bought inside this estate that are expanding buildings and all that. You make money in Abuja, you want to buy a house in an estate, unknown to you that you are entering the kidnappers there. They will come in from the bush and they will kidnap you. With your money, you bought your house. I've gone to handle a series of cases like that. And to tell you the truth, this time their focus is now on schools.
So this whole topic has been really instrumental, because just today, I'm meant to go for a wedding on the 30th of this month. And just today on the group chats, we saw that the bride is missing. Yes, and there's a poster, missing person, and it's the bride. So this is becoming a pandemic in Nigeria that has to be stopped. I think one recommendation, which no one has really mentioned, and I feel should be a core recommendation, is communication measures. Because we are in the 21st century, we are in the social media era. So putting in group chats, putting information, different areas where information can be disseminated is very important. You see situations where you just see a BC is sent, and you see they are kidnapping at so place. It goes round and people are like, oh my God, avoid this, avoid this. It really helps when people can know that, okay, this is what is happening. So communication measures, group chats, opening Telegram page, different ways that we can use to spread this information on time so people can quickly get the drill is very important. And another measure, someone rightly said, is schools, because schools is their target. So if it can be inculcated in the curriculum of students, security measures, teaching these students, especially from a young age, how to protect themselves when they find themselves in this situation, teaching them the do's and don'ts, teaching them just the basic things to secure themselves. I think these little steps can be taken to help children and help us at large in the community. Thank you very much.
It will be a very sad experience talking about tracking financial transactions. I will tell you, I will not lie to you. I'm a lawyer in my experience. I will tell you, anybody that needs to hear it, I will tell you that our security network has the capacity to do this work. But I love policemen so much, but they are not that grossly undermotivated. I will tell you the truth. All of us sitting here, I'm not lying to you, I can't do police work. Because in other countries, when a man wields a gun, what you have to do is try and take that man, care of that man's mental space, for him to be motivated to do his work. In the US and other countries, when a veteran dies, his whole generation is recognized that his father or their father was a veteran. They had their scholarships and everything. But yet, to lose bury themselves, the government keeps complaining about one thing or the other. So when you drive on Abuja roads, if you gave me a gun and I was a policeman, and I stand at Goempa Junction, and that boy winds down with his tinted car and shoots that person, that policeman, that's the end for his family. There's no care for the family, so I can't do that work. I'm saying this because I have one of my clients whose mother was kidnapped in December, this December that passed. He traveled to Benin, and what did he went there? Forgive me for saying this. He told the security operatives, they're asking me for 20 million, 50 million ransom. I will give you 20 million, find my mother. And in 3 days, they called him and they showed him 4 bodies and his mother. Motivation. So let's not wait for what we call our spiritual leaders or our politicians. We, as we are seated here, we see these things, we need to talk about them. Even if you sit down from the comfort of your home and you see a post and you can make a comment, that is you saying and laying your own, correcting the moral standards. We have moral standards in our family, but guess what? The moral standard of the society has to do with us. Thank you very much.
How many of you here are aware that the Nigerian Police Force has an app called the NPF Rescue Me app? Exactly. So this is an actual app which is on the App Store and it exists. But people don't know about it. And this is a big problem. And so, obviously, because most times they'll tell you they don't pay for address, and for communication, for any of you who knows about it, communication isn't cheap. Communication is expensive, but communication is always seen as an afterthought, not something that they add to the budget or planning. And that's part of what we are helping them with. So just today we have 4 newspapers with the full page ads with the police NPF Rescue Me app, just so people can know. They even have a toll-free number where you call it free. However, it's still an 11-digit number. One of the things we're trying to get done for the police force is to get them a 3-digit number for the police. How you have 911 in some places. In Nigeria, we have an emergency rescue response number called 112, which actually works. Unfortunately, it works for fire service, road safety, and different things. We need one just for the Nigerian police force. And part of our recommendation is that Nigerian police should have a 3-digit toll-free number. Because as much as we have full-page ads in 4 national dailies today, how many of you would copy that number and save? But if you hear it's 111, 112, 911, it sticks in your head, and if you have an issue, you do that immediately. So yes, communication plays a major role. For your recommendation about schools and adding stranger danger curricula into school curriculum will come in handy, because then children even know what is going on. As a result of insecurity, people are running from Nigeria. They're falling into the hands of human traffickers, sex traffickers. I had a conversation with the DJ of Napti, and I saw a 15-minute video of people talking about how they went to Dubai and were trafficked. I watched another video today where there's now an organ donation ring in Abuja where they are paying children at the age of 16 1.1 million for a kidney. And this is because of the unemployment you have spoken about. This is because of the poverty in the land. This is because of the response to security, and also the fact that we need to have more funding for our security agencies that go to the bottom, to the lowest level, not just the people at the top.